I was seated near the speakers, just close enough to hear the jokes they didn't think I would catch. His sister raised a glass and called me the practice wife, said I was just a phase he survived. People laughed. I didn't. I looked down at the bouquet on the table, the one I picked when I was supposed to be the bride. I didn't say a word. But the DJ saw everything. And when he grabbed the mic, the music didn't come back on. At first, I thought it was a technical issue. A loose cable. A momentary silence while he fiddled with his equipment. But no. He stood there still, one hand hovering over the board, the other gripping the mic like it carried more weight than the bride's diamond. The room didn't notice at first. The laughter still buzzed around the white-draped tables like champagne bubbles. Too light, too artificial, too fast to be real. I could smell the roses. Ivory ones. The same kind I once brought to his mother in the hospital, back when she still called me her daughter. Now she wouldn't even meet my eyes. My chair had no nameplate. No welcome card. Just a folded napkin and a centerpiece I recognized. The one I made by hand when we were engaged. The florist had saved the design template, apparently. Or maybe he just reused it. Cheaper than coming up with something new. Like most things in his life. Including me. The bride laughed like a songbird in a dress made of tulle and borrowed time. She was beautiful, I'll admit that. Too beautiful to see the red flags in front of her. Too busy twirling to notice her husband flinching as the DJ cleared his throat. The maid of honor leaned over and whispered something that made her laugh harder. Something about me, probably. About my seat by the speakers. About the way I hadn't touched the cake. My cake. It was the same recipe. Almond, with blackberry filling. A flavor he once said reminded him of me. Sweet, but complicated. He had told me I was too intense. Too deep. Too much. I sat there, still as winter. My son was somewhere behind the draped curtain near the bar, likely avoiding the limelight. He never liked parties. Got that from me. But he had agreed to come for his father's sake. That's what he said. For closure. For support. For peace. And here I was, holding on to peace like it was a soap bubble in a crowded room full of pins. They didn't think I would come. That was the joke. The real one. The invitation was sent like a dare. A late RSVP request tucked inside a generic email. No personal note, no warmth, no signature. I wasn't meant to say yes. I was supposed to decline gracefully, and they would have nodded, smug and satisfied, and called me bitter behind their champagne flutes. But I said yes. I showed up. In the dress I wore to my own rehearsal dinner. The one we never followed through with. When his sister said, "Practice wife," the bride didn't blink. She lifted her glass. I watched the glint of her ring catch the light, a ring that looked eerily similar to the one he once swore he couldn't afford. I had picked out a simple band for myself. He said we'd upgrade one day. That day never came. I never asked again. The DJ still hadn't resumed the music. Someone called his name. He didn't answer. My ex rose from his seat, half confused, half irritated, trying to play it cool for the cameras. He walked over, leaning in to whisper something. The DJ didn't flinch. Just pointed towards something off stage. A small nod. A flick of the wrist. Then, as if it were part of the playlist, he stepped back and turned on the mic. "Before the couple has their first dance," he said, calmly, "someone asked me to say a few words." And then everything slowed. My ex froze mid-step. The bride's eyes narrowed. The guests went quiet, like someone had turned down the volume on the entire world. Forks hovered mid-air. A server paused, holding a tray of flutes. The laughter dissolved into polite, confused tension. I didn't ask him to say anything. I hadn't spoken to him since I arrived. Hadn't even looked his way except for a passing glance. But now I was very aware of every pair of eyes turning toward me, including his and hers. The DJ looked directly at me. "This isn't part of the program," he said. "But I've been asked to read something." A folded note. Creased. Slightly smudged on the edges like it had been in someone's pocket all night. He opened it slowly, deliberately. His voice steady, his fingers firm. The first line he read wasn't mine. I could tell by the words. She was never meant to be temporary. She held everything together while he built the life he gave away. I didn't breathe. She paid the first month's rent when he got fired. She helped him build the company he sold for 6 figures. She raised his son. She took care of his mother. And when he said he wasn't ready, she walked away with grace. The bride's face fell. The guests turned to each other in murmurs. The sister went pale. Some of you know her as the ex. Some of you think she failed. But I know her as my mother. That's when I saw him. My son. Stepping forward from behind the curtain, chin high, hands steady, like he'd waited years for this. Because he had. The DJ stepped back. The mic was still live. But no one made a sound. Except one. My ex. He looked at our son, then at me, then back again. A question in his eyes. But the moment had passed. It was no longer his to manage, twist, or excuse. He had lost control. My son took the last step toward the mic. "And I think you all should know something before the dance starts," he said. Then he pulled something from his pocket. It was a flash drive. And I recognized it instantly. The one I thought I lost. Years ago. The one with everything on it. He plugged it into the DJ's console. The screen behind the dance floor flickered. And then, everything we'd built. Every truth he buried. Every lie he thought I'd forgotten. Was about to play. For everyone. I never intended for any of it to come out like that. I had made my peace with silence. 4 years, silence was my shelter, my armor, my proof that I could survive anything without making a scene. I used to believe that if I just kept giving, kept smoothing over arguments, kept stepping aside, kept being the responsible one, someone would see me. That he would see me. But some men don't look back, not even when you're the one holding the map. We met when I was 23 and he was 25. He had dreams that didn't fit inside his bank account, and I had 2 jobs and no time to dream. He spoke in ideas. I spoke in plans. I liked lists. He liked luck. So I gave him mine. I gave him my steadiness, my structure, my savings. I helped him file the LLC paperwork when he said he wanted to start something bold. When it failed the first time, I helped him pivot. When it failed again, I fed him soup and told him failure was noble. I didn't know back then that he didn't want a partner. He wanted scaffolding. And scaffolding isn't meant to be permanent. It holds things up until they can stand on their own. Then it's dismantled. Forgotten. I bought our first couch. He brought the TV. I made his LinkedIn. He made the promises. I remember how he used to say I was the only one who believed in him. And I was. Until he didn't need belief. Just validation. And that's when she showed up. Before her, there were warning signs. He stopped coming home on time. He changed his passwords. His phone began to ring in the shower, on the patio, in the car, but never when he was near it. I asked questions gently. He answered them with annoyance. Or worse, indifference. He said I was controlling. That I didn't evolve with him. That he had grown. As if growth meant outgrowing the person who built the ground he walked on. But I stayed. I always stayed. Not because I was weak. But because we had a son. Because I believed in rebuilding. Because I thought maybe, just maybe, if I was patient enough, I'd matter again. I tried to recreate the things that once made him smile. Planned weekend trips. Bought his favorite whiskey. Tried new recipes. But his smiles had moved elsewhere. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was how easy it was for him. How quick. How clean. Like I was a sweater he had simply outworn. He told me he needed space. Said he didn't want to fight. That he appreciated me. That he would always have love for me. I nodded. I even smiled. Because what else was there to do? Begging didn't suit me. Screaming wasn't my style. So I let him go. And I quietly made sure he didn't take anything else with him, except his own guilt. After he left, I kept everything afloat. The rent. The school meetings. The doctor's appointments. When his family called to check on him, they never asked how I was doing. They just wanted to know if he seemed okay. If I'd heard from him. His sister called once, just once, to see how things were. She told me without apology that it was probably for the best. That he was meant for more. I thanked her and hung up. Then I cried. Not because she said it, but because a part of me believed it. Years passed. I rebuilt slowly. I started selling custom planners online. Then personalized memory books. Things people used to hold pieces of their lives together. Ironic, really. I made things for weddings. Guest books. Seating charts. Personalized vow pages. I packaged each one with care, never letting my hands shake even when the names I printed weren't mine anymore. I told myself I was okay. That I didn't need a grand ending. That being forgotten meant I had finally moved on. Until the wedding invitation arrived. I stared at it for hours. Not because I was surprised, but because of how little it hurt. It wasn't even addressed to me directly. Just a digital link sent to our son, with a note that read, "Feel free to bring your mom if she wants." Not even her name. Just a vague, offhand mention. I told myself I wouldn't go. But I did. Not for him. Not even for her. For our son. For myself. To prove that I could walk into the fire and not burn. That I could sit through it all and leave untouched. I didn't expect anything. Not kindness. Not closure. Certainly not cruelty disguised as humor. But the moment I heard his sister raise that glass, call me the practice wife, I felt something shift. Not in anger, but in stillness. A recognition. That I had been erased on purpose. Not because I failed. But because I had been too useful to be admired. Too quiet to be feared. Too selfless to be seen. And then, a flicker of something else. After the speech, as the guests turned their attention back to their food and laughter resumed like nothing had happened, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Light. Hesitant. I turned and saw him, my son, his face calm, his voice soft. He said only 5 words. I found it. The drive. For a moment, I didn't understand. Then I remembered. Years ago I had compiled everything I helped build. His first pitch decks, tax files, digital receipts of my bank transfers, brand logos I designed in Canva, every late-night draft I edited. I had stored it all on a flash drive. A quiet record. Just in case. I thought I lost it during the move. I hadn't. He held it in his palm like a key. "I think it's time," he said. I should have said no. I should have protected the peace. But peace without dignity isn't peace at all. So I nodded. And he walked away. And when the DJ reached for the mic, I finally let go. The screen blinked once, then again, and the chatter faded into silence. One by one, faces turned. The bride froze mid-laugh, her hand still resting on the groom's shoulder. He looked like he'd just swallowed glass. For a second, I thought the footage wouldn't play. That maybe the years I'd spent archiving proof of all I'd done would stay hidden. But then the screen lit up, and my voice, younger and hopeful, filled the room. It was a recording I barely remembered making. I had been up late one night, trying to teach myself how to use editing software for his first business promo. He had asked me to help make a pitch video, but when he cancelled the project halfway through, I'd saved what I had, just in case. And there it was. My voice narrating a rough draft over clips of his startup journey, back when he had no team, no funds, just dreams. The camera panned across whiteboards I'd drawn on, spreadsheets I'd printed, late-night ramen dinners I cooked when money was tight. I had filmed it all so he could one day show investors the grind. But he never showed them this version. Only the ones where I didn't exist. Now everyone could see. The way I stood behind him during early presentations, holding the clicker while he took credit. The nights I worked beside him, baby monitor balanced between us, our son sleeping in the background. My voice explained the business model, broke down numbers, pitched ideas. They weren't his words. They were mine. The groom tried to stand, but his son, our son, stepped in front of him. Calm. Unapologetic. He said nothing, but his posture said everything. Sit down. Let it play. The bride was still staring at the screen, her mouth parted just slightly, not breathing. She had no idea, I realized. He never told her who helped him get here. Just that he built it. Alone. Then the letters appeared, bank transfers, timestamps, email confirmations with my name in the sent by line. Legal forms signed under my handwriting. And last, the design. The logo. His company's first ever brand identity. In my font. I remembered designing it during lunch breaks at my office job, in a free app with too many ads. I remembered how excited he was when he saw it. How he kissed my forehead and said, "You get me." He never said who made it in interviews. People shifted in their seats. A few guests started whispering. The DJ stepped back from the console. He looked stunned, like he hadn't even known what the footage held. My son walked back toward me. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. His silence felt louder than the music ever did. Then the final clip played. It was from our engagement party, the one we cancelled weeks before the wedding. I had forgotten this existed. Someone had taken a short video of me arranging the flowers, setting tables, adjusting the candles. He was in the background, pacing on the phone, laughing with someone else. I was alone in the frame. I watched myself straighten a chair. Then sit. Then breathe. Just for a moment. Then the video cut to black. And with it, the entire room fell quiet. No one clapped. No one moved. Not even the servers. I rose from my seat, slow and steady, and adjusted my shawl. My son offered me his arm, and I took it. We walked together toward the exit. The groom called my name. Once. Then again, louder. I didn't look back. Neither did my son. At the threshold, I paused, not to turn, but to feel it. The weight of all those years slipping off my shoulders like fog in morning sun. Not revenge. Not even vindication. Just the truth. Unburdened. Seen. And left behind. But just as I touched the door, the bride's voice rang out. Is it true? Her words cracked like glass. The groom didn't answer. She tried again, this time louder. Is any of this true? Still nothing. He opened his mouth. Then closed it. The silence that followed didn't feel accidental. I kept walking. Out into the night air, where the cold didn't sting. Where the stars weren't an audience. Where I could finally breathe. And just as we reached the car, my son spoke again. There's more on the drive. I turned to him, surprised. He looked back at the building, then at me. You had a backup. For your own projects. Your ideas. The ones he told you wouldn't work. I found them. They're good, Mom. They're better than his. I hadn't thought about those files in years. Scribbled ideas. Product lines. Packaging sketches. Journals full of names I might have used, if I ever had the chance. He never deleted them, my son said. He just renamed the folder. Hid it. I opened the car door, but paused again. Because I realized something then. All those years, I thought I had been erased. But I wasn't erased. I was archived. And now, I was restored. I didn't go back. Not for the apology texts that came 3 days later. Not for the voicemail from his mother pretending she didn't laugh during the speech. Not for the envelope that showed up at my doorstep with a gift card and a note that read, "Hope we can all move forward." I didn't answer any of them. Some silences aren't angry. They're just final. The peace I felt afterward didn't come in a loud wave. It was slow, like dust settling after the door has finally shut. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't sad, but because I had already mourned what they took from me years ago. The version of myself who waited for acknowledgement, who twisted herself into smallness for love that never saw her. She was gone long before that wedding. What stood in her place now was someone quieter, steadier, and finally whole. I moved to a small cottage 2 towns over. By the coast. Nothing fancy. But mine. The backyard overlooked a garden of wild roses and hydrangeas. I planted them myself, hands in the dirt, shoulder aching, sun warm on my neck. It felt good to build something that didn't require permission. Or applause. Some days I worked on the old projects, those forgotten designs buried in a renamed folder. The ones I once hid because he said they were too idealistic. I brought them back to life. Redesigned them. Started a website. My son helped with the tech. He visited every weekend, brought groceries I didn't ask for, fixed my porch light, and played music while I worked. We didn't talk much about what happened. We didn't need to. It lived in the silence between us like a shared memory. One we didn't owe anyone an explanation for. Sometimes I wondered what happened after we left. If the bride stayed. If she ever confronted him. If she connected the dots. I would probably never know. And for once, I was content with that. Not knowing meant not caring. Not needing closure from people who never offered it to begin with. One afternoon, while organizing a drawer, I found the napkin from the wedding. Crumpled. Still stained with a faint ring from a champagne glass. On it was the message my son had written before everything shifted. Just a simple line in his handwriting. "You're the only real one here." I pressed it flat and tucked it inside the cover of my old planner. The one I used back when I still believed we were building a life together. I didn't keep it to remember the pain. I kept it because it reminded me that someone had seen me. That someone still did. He once said I was too emotional. That I overthought everything. That I was dramatic. But I wasn't the one who made a scene. I didn't raise my voice or throw drinks or stage a fight. I just let the truth speak. And when it did, it didn't need volume. It needed space. The last message I ever received from him came a month after the wedding. It was a single line. "I wish you had told me." I read it twice. Then I deleted it. Because I had told him. In every meal I cooked. In every loan I covered. In every Sunday I spent with his mother when she was too sick to walk. In every laugh I faked, every silence I swallowed, every plan I rewrote to fit his life. I had told him over and over. He just never listened. I didn't need to rewrite history. I didn't need to be repaid. All I needed was distance. And I had it now. One evening, while watching the tide roll in, my son asked me if I regretted anything. I thought for a while. Then I shook my head. If I hadn't gone through it, I said, I wouldn't know how strong I really am. He nodded, said nothing more. Before he left, he handed me a gift. Small, wrapped in plain brown paper. Inside was a hand-bound book with blank pages and a title written in pen. The real story starts here. I smiled. Not because it was poetic, but because it was true. They handed me nothing. I built everything.